Now, the Occupy Wall Street protesters continue to call Lower Manhattan home. And as they continue to stand their ground over grievances such as inequality amidst growing wealth and power of the country's top 1%, the movement appears to be spreading. In Chicago, you can see this amateur video shows a group of protesters in front of the Federal Reserve Bank there. Now, this is day 11 of protests. Protesters are actually sleeping outside to get their message heard. In Colorado, protesters took to the streets of downtown Denver. They rallied around the Denver Post newspaper and eventually ended up outside of the Capitol building. And finally, on the West Coast in Los Angeles, once again signs and protests. This time the protesters took their message to an overpass to yell as passing cars went by. So this is going on all over the country. And here now on our show from New York, activist Christina Gonzalez, who was actually arrested during the New York protests. Thanks for being on the show. So from what I understand, you were arrested for allegedly videotaping. I want to talk about if you feel like your rights to freedom of speech, freedom of assembly have been violated.
Hi, Lauren. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I definitely feel like my rights have been violated. You know, this country, we stand on freedom of speech, land of the free, home of the brave. These are some of our sayings. And that day, I really felt like they were targeting people who were rallying the crowds, like they were targeting people who they saw were going to be able to have proof of what they were doing. And it really hurt me. At one point, I even cried because I couldn't believe that I was being pushed back with orange nets by cops, stepping on us, pushing us into each other. And you know, you hear these things going on in other countries, but to be having it going on in New York City was astonishing to me. But the crowd saw what was happening, which was the beautiful thing about that day.
So you think you were astonished about how you were being treated protesting in the United States of America?
That's correct. I mean, we live on slogans about freedom of speech. And, you know, we say, look at the freedoms that we have here. And that's part of the reason why they say that our troops are overseas fighting for our right to freedom. So how is it that when we are out there taking over the streets to show people, to get more recruiters, to get people out here to join us, how is it that they're keeping us silenced? How is it that the mainstream media is not reporting on these type of things? It's very, I guess I'm not surprised. I'm a little hurt. And to be there firsthand, it was really, really amazing.
You know, you mentioned the mainstream media, and the mainstream media has really, if they've covered this, they've focused on just the protests, the arrests, or they have, you know, just barely touched it. Why do you think there is no discussion of why all of these activists are occupying Wall Street?
The question was, why is the media not covering it? I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Yeah, why don't you think the mainstream media is talking about why you guys are out there?
I mean, because I feel that the media is controlled by the exact people that we're protesting against. You know, I've been looking for the stories everywhere. I'm actually really disappointed with Pix 11. You know, I saw them talking about it yesterday, and it's like, will the protesters, you know, take on the cops again? Or, you know, will we confront them? And, you know, they don't really talk about why we're there, or they try to make it seem like, you know, our numbers are dwindling when in fact they're increasing, or they try to make it seem like we're dirty hippies or young teenagers who are now disgruntled because of what's going on, when really it's not the case at all. Instead of coming down there and talking to people and finding out why we're really here, they're making it, you know, misconstruing the situation and making it seem like we have no idea what we're talking about. And actually, RT is one of the first stations that I saw it. That's why I was really eager to come down here and talk with you guys, because I was really thankful for the way you guys are covering the story.
Well, I appreciate your words. We appreciate you being on the show. One of the things that you talked about, you said the coverage by the media has not exactly been spot on, and there is some confusion over exactly what protesters like yourself out there are calling for. How would you describe the movement and your demands?
I guess it's really hard to put it all into one sentence. You know, I have my own reasons. I was actually a victim of domestic violence. I had a man who abused me for several years. And when I went to the cops in the courts, they basically ignored me or demeaned me, and I had cases dismissed and things like that. That's one of my personal reasons. And then seeing how the cops acted the other day, when I saw how violent they were towards the women, I realized that it's no surprise that they weren't there to protect me, because it seems as though they're targeting women as well. I guess I would say that our message is that people come before profit. Money is just a piece of paper that you hold in your hand. But the human race, we're amazing. Humans are amazing creatures. Why are we not doing more to save our society, to save our culture? It seems as though we've put money over everything else. And I guess we're out there to say that, listen, we need more transparency. We want to be told the truth. And we feel that our lives are more important than the almighty dollar. And that's what's gotten so confused. People out there, they don't understand that. And the cops are out there doing their jobs. We understand. But once again, they're there to make money. So here they are, hitting peaceful protesters when really they should be there to defend us, because we're there to defend them. That's the whole reason why they're there. So I can't speak on behalf of anybody else, but I would think that the main focus of our war right now out there is to say, hey, listen, we're more important than that dollar bill. Please hear us. Are our voices not more important than the money? I mean, I know money talks, but
you don't know what it's saying right now. It's not saying what you want. Really quickly, we don't have time. If there was just one demand, though, that you guys are calling for, could you pinpoint one?
I would say that we need some accountability. There are people out there who have done a lot of harm to not only this country, but the entire planet itself. And I personally am calling for some accountability out there. There are people who have gotten away with so much. They've robbed, they've polluted the environment. There are people who are buying politicians. I need to have some accountability. That's what I want.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on our show and telling us. You heard what protester Christina Gonzalez wants in our New York studio, and we're waiting to see how many of your voices are going to be heard. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Lauren.